It's Flat Earth Friday, and we are live on the Yahawashai News Network. How are you doing, brother?
I'm great for Flat Earth Fridays. Here we are. It's 8:06 p.m. Central. I'm glad that everybody's tuned in tonight. We've got so much to get over to look at. You're going to be bringing in some three-dimensional modeling programs, and what's your main takeaway so far of what you want to present tonight?
So, tonight, I had said in our last hangout that I always want to do some banging quality content, and I don't want to just do something to do something. So, what we're doing is we're digging something off the shelf here. I had started working on this fake flat Earth debunk a while ago, and I just got bogged down in the project, and it's been sitting there. So we're gonna dig it off the shelf. We're gonna play the intro that I have made for it, and then we're gonna have some fun playing with the 3D modeling in motion, where we're gonna show sundials, how sundials work. An equatorial sundial. This is the easiest way for anybody to prove that the sun's not circling up above like this. And we're going to just continue to show everybody the actual rotation of the sun, how it rotates around you from horizon to horizon, going over you, rising from and setting into the ground. And we're just going to continue to prove that to everybody, because once you get that, you're confronted with the fact that you're in a virtual reality. So everything that you've been taught about atoms and being made up of empty space where nothing touches each other, but it's too small to be seen, and that's what we are. We're just going to show y'all that that type of materiality is impossible, especially when you start to understand that the sun's coming up out of the ground and setting into the ground. All right?
Every day for everyone on Earth, right? I mean, we're just here to show you guys what we find. That's it. We don't have any. We don't. If it's round, flat, whatever. You've heard me say this many times. We're just here to just investigate the truth and just try to show people the way that we look for truth. Learning how to use the compass, how to sight the sunrise, the sunset. People might have cameras. They might want to know how to do this. Where's the best vantage point in your area? You try to find your highest elevation of observation points, and then you try to find certain east looking views and west. And we're going to be getting into all that. We're going to be talking about how to use the gnomon, how to set up the sundial pointing towards Polaris, and if you're in the south part of the realm, then you point it at Sigma Octantis, which is 180 degrees due south. There's so much that we're going to get into.
Yeah, we've got a couple models from the University in Nebraska that we're going to be looking at. All of these things are depicting the path of the sun around an observer on a flat plane. And a couple of these tools really help give us insight as to the orbital mechanics of the sun based on the day of the year, how the sun travels through the ecliptic and all that kind of stuff. So this really is one of the videos that we're going through is, a professor or whatever. He's teaching his class how to understand the path of the sun around the observer. So this is professor level information that we're going through. And then we've got the 3D graphics, which we're actually going to be using real light rays within a 3D modeling program, 3D video editing program, where the light from a light is going to be casting shadows off of materials that are in the diagram. So we can actually see how shadows really work with a real light source in these programs. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Actually investigating the way that we see it in our reality and then lining it up in the program, it really does show the virtualness of the reality that we're in. And again, liken it into your eyes being Google glasses that are interacting with the virtual reality. And the sky interacts with the way that we see in a special way. And so does the things here on Earth. They interact in another way, the way that we see things to the vanishing point and the horizon, and how things disappear from the bottom up. And then there's so much. So we'll hopefully take it nice and slow. We don't have to rush through anything. We're both just chilled out. It's a nice day. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into some truth.
Yeah. So other topics before we get off camera, this Sunday today I published, if you go to the description box of the video, there is a new link to an updated version of the End Times Eschatology graphic. I added a couple more cards to it, and so we're going to be going through that this Sunday. And the real big update about this graphic is I've got all the dates for 2023 put on it as far as the Hebrew festival days. So we've got trumpets, we've got the 10 days of awe, we've got the Day of Atonement, we've got the first day of Tabernacles, the last day of Tabernacles, and we're showing how all that aligns with the eclipses that we have. We've got a blood moon on the first day of Tabernacles. We've got a solar eclipse the day before trumpet. So fulfillment of scriptures, we're actually looking at the 2023. If the Great Tribulation begins this fall, we're actually putting real days to when these things will be taking place. And we're getting close enough, everybody, that this is like getting ready for a vacation. When you're a couple of months out, you start getting your plans in order. And then those last couple of weeks will actually sort of go by really quick, and all of a sudden, boom, it's time for the trip. So just trying to get everybody heads up, prepared, encouraged, strengthened. We're not guaranteed that 2023 is going to be the Great Tribulation kickoff. If it doesn't happen this year, we're going to be doing this again next year. We're never stopping until the return of our Lord and Savior. So anything else going on, brother?
Well said. No, not really. I'm just looking forward to it. We'll do some truth tonight. We'll get back on Sunday, do some scriptures, some more nice music. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Oh, I don't know why my feet are stuck to the ground. I'm holding myself back, keeping my head down. I should be aiming high, not living all of these lies, but the things you say echo in my mind. With you, I'm never gonna realize who I'm meant to be. If I stay here, I'll be happy in my dreams. With you, I'm never gonna live my life, 'cause you won't set me free. If I stay here, I'll be happy, only happy in my dreams. Only happy in my dreams. Oh, I don't know why my feet are stuck to the ground. I'm holding myself back, keeping my head down. I should be aiming high, not living all of these lies, but the things you say echo in my mind. With you, I'm never gonna realize who I'm meant to be. If I stay here, I'll be happy in my dreams. With you, I'm never gonna live my life, 'cause you won't set me free. If I stay here, I'll be happy, only happy in
And we're back. And we are going to be checking out what I was talking about, that video that was sitting on the shelf that I wasn't working on. I rendered up the intro part of it. And so we're going to be playing that intro video. This is a new release, you know, brand new breaking new video. And so what this video is going to do is it's really going to lay the groundwork for understanding what we want to do with these modeling tools. And so there's a real world video where somebody actually shows how an equatorial sundial works, and it's super important. And so I play that video, and then I explain some of the graphics. And then after that, we're going to start playing around with the models that I have in the 3D motion editor. So this is like 15 minutes long, everybody. Grab your popcorn and check this out. I have two new debunks of the Freemason New World Order pressurized pizza dome AE map and model. The first new way to debunk that impossible model is derived from considering what it is we witness on the equinoxes with equatorial sundials. My very first debunks of the Freemason New World Order pressurized pizza dome AE map and model were regarding the equinoxes sunrise and sunset being 90 degrees east and 270 degrees west everywhere on Earth on the same day, and how that makes it impossible for Earth to be a circle. Here's another way to see that the sun and moon cannot be doing circles around a single polar point like the Freemason fake plain Earth model has. First, you need to understand what happens with an equatorial sundial on the equinox. I'm going to play you some clips of someone that has demonstrated how an equatorial sundial works here on YouTube, and then show you some graphics I have made of an equatorial sundial, and then we are going to put the circular plane Earth to the test. This video demonstrates how an equatorial sundial works, and it appears to be the only one of its kind. The video has 31,000 views and it was published November 6, 2011. This comment from Gabrielle Prala states that this video is the first on YouTube to show an equatorial sundial at the equinox and finds that interesting. Steve Elliott, who gets the top comment spot with 4 thumbs up, says that what he likes about sundials is that they provide a simple low-cost way for people to see and understand that the sun moves around Earth's axis at a constant rate. His grammar is bad here, but he is trying to say, and the angle of Earth's axis, which the sundial's axis must be parallel to, is equal to the sundial's latitude. This only makes sense if Earth is a sphere. So already before watching this video, you can already see that heliocentrism acts as though equatorial sundials are on their spinning ball side and against plain Earthers. Let's see what this professor has for us and why his video is so special.
What you're looking at is called an equatorial sundial, and this is a test model which will be used to demonstrate how this device works. Today is August 13th, and it's still summertime. With the sun still in the north of the equator, this particular sundial works in such a way as to see the shadow cast on the front of it. So if we look at this, we can see the shadow is in the front, and indeed that's pretty close to the time. It's not quite set up properly. This axle, which is the gnomon, is actually set to look at the north celestial pole. Now, the backside of the sundial also has a face, but notice it's in shadow. Now, this is the winter side, and what will happen as the sun crosses the celestial equator heading south on the first day of fall, which will be next month, the shadow will start to show up here during the day. So what I plan to do is to a date after the equinox in September is to come back and show you that indeed the shadow will start to appear on the back or the winter side of the equatorial sundial. This is September 23rd, 2011. This is what the sundial looks like on the day of the equinox. Notice there's no shadow from the gnome on the front, nor is there no shadow from the gnome on the back, as you would anticipate. The sun is, as far as this back plate is concerned, moves like this. So it's in shadow on the equinox. So the next time we look at this will be some days away from this, and we should be able to catch a shadow for time on the winter side. It's November 6th, 2011. It's well past the equinox, and you notice that the shadow is now cast on the underside of the plate, or the winter side as I call it. And you can see it very plainly there. If we move around to the summer side, notice it's in shadow as you would expect. So this is the workings of an equatorial sundial.
Let's go back to the demonstration on the equinox. This is big. It is huge. There is no shadow on either face of an equatorial sundial on the equinox. No shadow. That is why there are no other videos on YouTube of an equatorial sundial on the equinox, because there is no shadow on either face. Let's look at the process here again, and then I'm going to show you some graphics that will help you visualize what is taking place. First, the professor shows us a summer day for a location somewhere near 30 degrees north latitude. We can tell that by the angle of the gnomon on his sundial. The gnomon is pointed at Polaris. During the summer, the sun is shining on the north face of the sundial, and the south face is in shade. At the equinox, there is no shadow on either side. After the equinox, the sun is shining on the south face of the sundial, and the north face is in shadow. Now let me show you this with 3D graphics, where we're able to get an outside perspective of what is taking place. So let me show you what I have here in Motion, a 3-dimensional graphics editor. What you are looking at is a scene with a camera, an equatorial sundial I created, and 2 video walls. I can switch to the camera view and you can see that I have everything lined up real closely. But we are going to spend most of our time looking at what's taking place from this outside perspective. This video wall we are looking at here is a view of the sun rising on the equinox from 30 degrees north latitude, and nearly identical to the demonstration from the professor. It is an extremely wide-angle view of 180 degrees where we can see both north and south as we are looking due east. The other video wall is the view looking north from the same location at a natural focal length so that the view is not distorted. Let's take a closer look at the equatorial sundial I built and help you understand it. You can see that I've labeled this side south because it is the face that faces south, and this is the side of the equatorial sundial that will be illuminated from fall to spring. If we spin around here, you will see that this side is labeled north because it is the face that faces north. This side is the side that is illuminated from the spring to the fall. The way it works is that when the sun rises in the east, it will cast a shadow from the gnomon 180 degrees west. As the sun rotates from horizon to horizon, we can tell time by knowing that the sun rotates 15 degrees per hour. I have put the hours of daylight at their 15-degree intervals, so that as the sun rotates we can see what time of day it is from the shadow cast by the gnomon. You can see that I have the hours of the day laid out for both sides, because we are going to be using this sundial with an actual light source that is going to be casting shadows for us. You can see here that this blue wire frame is our spotlight, and I have created a sun graphic for us to be able to visually see where the light source is. This sun-light combo is set up to rotate around the sundial from horizon to horizon. But before we do that, there is something we must first do. Right now, my sundial is laying flat to the horizon, and that is not how equatorial sundials work. What we need to do to make this sundial work is point its gnomon at the pole star Polaris. Pointing an equatorial sundial at Polaris is what tells you your latitude. If you point your gnomon at Polaris and measure the angle of the gnomon to level, and the angle is 45 degrees, then you are at 45 degrees north latitude. If the angle you measure is 35 degrees, then you're at 35 degrees north latitude. And if you measure 30 degrees to level, you are at 30 degrees north latitude. Since we want to mimic a location at 30 degrees north latitude, we're going to set our equatorial sundial to 30 degrees. Now that we have our gnomon lined up to Polaris, everything with this model is going to work exactly as we saw from the professor's video. Let's look at this in the same order he did. He started by showing the north face of his equatorial sundial being illuminated before the fall equinox. So here we have the sun rising north of east, and we can see that the north face of the sundial is illuminated. As we let this run, we can see the shadow of the sun's light being cast 180 degrees and showing us what time it is based on the sun's position. When the sun is directly overhead, it is noon. And then, as it sets, it tells us the time until it is below the horizon. If we spin around here and watch this, you can see that the south face of the sundial is in shadow, and it is never in direct sunlight. Now let's move our sun so that it is rising due east like it does on the equinox. Once we have lined up our sun so that it is rising due east and we let our sun run, you're going to see that there is no shadow on either side of the sundial. No shadow, no shadow, no shadow, no shadow. How many times can I say no shadow before you get irritated with me saying no shadow? And the only thing you can think about is no shadow, no shadow, no shadow. No shadow. Now if we take a look at a date after the equinox when the sun is rising south of east, we can clearly see a shadow on the south face of an equatorial sundial, and it works exactly as it did for the summer days, where when the sun rises a shadow casts 180 degrees will tell us what time it is by the sun's position. When it is 90 degrees overhead, it is 12 noon, and as it sets, it tells us the hours until it has set. If we spin around and look at the north side of the sundial as this is happening, you can see that the entire north face is always in shadow and that the direct light will never hit it. This is how equatorial sundials work. The professor demonstrated it in quote-unquote real life, and the way I have modeled it matches his observations exactly. But now you have the ability to understand the mechanics of the sun's motion from an outside perspective that cannot be witnessed in quote-unquote reality. Now that you hopefully understand the mechanics of equatorial sundials, it is time to use this equatorial sundial to show you how ridiculously stupid the Freemason New World Order pressurized pizza dome AE map model is. Here I have the Gleason's fake plain earth with its iconic broken ruler and a stylish ice wall border. And that's it. All right. So that was the intro to the video, right? What's that, brother?
The stylish ice wall border. Now that was great. Everybody should now understand how to use an equatorial sundial.
Absolutely. So that was the warm up. That was to get everybody understanding what it is that we're talking about. And now what we can do is actually do some debunking, right? And we can look at the motion of the sun around the observer in our local circle of sight. So let's go ahead and take a look at motion right here.
Yeah, wait, there's more. Don't go away.
And so here we've got the sundial. Right, and now we can actually play with it and take a look at the mechanics of what's taking place. And so we can spin around and we can look at this scene any which way you want to. And you can see here from the video, we've got Polaris up here. So we want to have that gnomon of our sundial pointed right up at Polaris, everyone. That's the key, and that's based on your latitude.
Yeah, so that works for the AE map and model. Everybody can point towards Polaris on the north part of the map. The problem is when you turn to the southern part of the map and you try to point at 180 degrees south. That's a huge error for the AE map.
It's a big problem. So let's go ahead and click on our sundial here. I just want to show everybody some of these properties. So right now it's set to 30 degrees because we're at 30 latitude. So if you were farther north, when I was in Wisconsin, I was at about 45 degrees north. I think that's close to what you were at in Toronto.
48 up at the cottage or whatever, 47.
Yeah, so then your gnomons pointed farther up like this.
Yeah.
And then if you go closer to the equator, at the equator, it's actually going to be sitting horizontal like this. So let's show everybody. All right, it's straight up and down. And now you can tell by the fact that the light is on the north side of this sundial right now that this is a day that's from spring to fall. Right?
Yeah, it doesn't really set up for a great sundial. It's actually quite difficult to do it on the equator. You have to do a different style.
Yeah.
You measure the distance of the shadow from forwards to back, reversed, as it's always pointing away from the sun.
So most of us aren't at the equator. So we'll do we'll do our 30 degree like we experience here. And so just want to show everybody, you see how the sun is rising north of east right here?
Yep, that's north of it.
All right, so this right here, as I rotate this, the sun's going to rotate around this dial based on the plane that it's lined up with. So let me go ahead and show you what I gotta do to make this an equinox. So I gotta go to my light source, and if I slide this, yeah, that's the right one. So
Moving through its gates,
there's
back to the fourth gate.
there's an equinox. Now if I
So hang on,
Yeah.
let's talk about understanding the distance to the center of the sun from the gnomon. So that distance is always locked. Now, the higher you go in elevation, the greater the distance is to the center of the sun to the gnomon. So the sun will have its largest path the higher in elevation you go.
Yeah, I've got a couple of those graphics from the University of Nebraska are actually going to help us see that a little better from the outside perspective, even farther back than we're seeing it right here. So as I'm sliding the sun here, so now, right, this is a day in the fall, and all of a sudden we're starting to get shadows on the south side of our Equatorial sundial. So showing everybody here,
There won't be any on the north side.
all right, because now the sun is rising from south of east. Slide this back. Here's equinox, and here's rising north of east.
That's its path between the two tropics. And
Yeah.
that's all just imaginary, because truly everybody has the sun rise and set right around you and me. And another good way that you can test this is if you lay down at a good vantage point, generally if you're over water, and you watch the sunset and you stand up really fast, you'll actually see the sun come back above the horizon. Right? This is an indicator that you are tidally locked to the sun, and every observer in the reality has the exact same tidal lock to it.
Yeah, so this sun is set to rotate around here, and I've done it so that 1 minute rotation. Right, so 15 degrees per hour is the rotation of the sun, and that's exactly what we're getting out of this. So you can get this is scaled, but you can get absolutely exact measurements for the time of day based on a shadow, and the sun always is rotating 15 degrees per hour. It never
Speed up or slow down.
never speeds up or slows down.
Anywhere on the map.
So it's a constant speed rotation. That's important.
Yeah, it's the clock of reality. It's the playhead of creation.
All right. Is there anything else that you would want to point out from this graphic? Trying to get people.
I want you to model up the eclipse with this setup with all 4 or 5 sides.
All right. Well, that's easy.
Yeah. Well, the task ahead of you to do it.
All right. So let's go ahead and jump to our AE debunk. Now that people.
Well, you just need to record the eclipse from the north, the east, the south, and the west, and then put those 4, and then actually looking up, and then put those 5 panes together inside the editor, and you'll have the eclipse. It's not that hard.
Yeah. So here's our stylish ice-walled
Uh-oh.
freemason.
Oh, everybody look out. All the AE mappers are running right now. Just watch the numbers on the podcast go down.
Yeah. So take a look at this.
It's 3D, the ice wall.
It is.
I can see the contours in it.
I put a little bit of work into it.
The outer pond.
So
To go past.
I want to bang on a few points here about the creation. The height of the sun that I have here, it's really exact. And what I mean by that is that these rods that I have here, I have one over here, And so what it is it's laying on the map, and that line length is from 45 degrees north to the equator. And then that is the same distance from the equator to 45 degrees south. So that that tells us how high the sun has to be in the Freemason New World Order. Triangulation. So it's 3,000 miles from 45 degrees north to the equator. It's got to be 3,000 miles high, because that's right triangle rule, and because they both see the sun at 45 degrees in the sky on the equinox. So that is, go ahead.
Here's the big question. Everybody in the chat, do you think that the shadows on these poles that Jason has standing up here are going to match reality?
I can assure you that they're not. I was shocked the first time I put this into motion and saw just how bad it was. But I want to show everybody this. So this line, I'm going to stand it up. All right. So I had it laying down on the map. I'm going to stand it up. I'm going to rotate it vertically.
190?
Yep.
90.
I'm going to move it over to where it is here.
And these are going to cast shadows, everybody. We're going to see some actual shadows here.
All right. And so we have 4 of those poles set around the equator here, and we have the sun sitting right on top of the pole. Let me show you this view. I want to go up, because now we've got the height of the sun correctly, but we've got a few other things to consider here. So I've got a version of our Equatorial sundial, and it's sitting right here at New Orleans. And New Orleans is an absolutely perfect city to take a look at, because it's at 90 degrees west latitude and it's at 30 degrees north. It's right at an intersection right there. And so if it's at 90 degrees west longitude, when the sun's at the prime meridian, right, when it's there, the sun has to be rising in New Orleans on the equinox, right, because the day is 12 hours long, 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of nighttime. This sun has to go around the circle once in 24 hours. So it has to, when the sun's here...
It's a huge problem. It's a huge problem that you're pointing out.
The sun has to be rising here in New Orleans, and when the sun's over here, the sun has to be setting. So now I'm going to show you with the light how we adjust this. And I got to find that. That's local sun. I need circling sun. And the light. And now what I can do is I can adjust the throw of the light. So notice that at this point right here, the light is just getting to the North Pole, right? But it's not getting to New Orleans here. It needs to be rising at New Orleans. So if I increase the throw of the light, I increase the light, and now,
oh no,
what's happening?
It's summer light all the time now.
What's happening here? So we'll go with this setting right here, and now we've got our edge of light just getting to our compass down here. But what's happened is that our light goes totally over the North Pole, so that up here you have well, the larger you increase this, watch what happens. So I want to point out a huge flaw here. Every single wear along this 90 degrees west longitude, the sun has to be rising. So if you're down right here, let me show you what the sun has to be doing. All right. So if you're down here, in order for the sun to be rising on the equinox here, The whole Earth.
Only half of the Earth is lit up on the equinox. Half is in darkness and half is in light. That's why it's the equal day, equal night, equal equinox. And it happens twice a year.
So we're going to shrink the throw of our light back down to right here where it's just getting to this. Now, let's go ahead and drill in on this. And what we want to watch is as this sun is circling around the equator, we want to see what direction the sun's going to be rising from and which direction the sun's going to be setting from.
The shadows.
So we're going to get down here.
We got our little circle of sight.
We want to get a nice angled view like this, but as close as we can. Alright, so I'm just starting to lose the sun up here. What we want to do is I'm going to zoom in a little closer because we really want to watch where the shadows show up as I put this into motion. So keep your frame of reference. Alright, I'm going to hit play here.
Oh.
Try to get a little closer here. The shadow's starting to show up.
Oh, I see it.
You see it's starting to show up there? I want to get in.
It's not due east.
Yeah, but this is the equinox. We've got the sun on the equator, right?
Yeah.
So the sun is...
Definitely rising north. Far, far north of east.
Mm-hmm. Far, far north of east.
Which is, it needs to be due east. 90 degrees, 270 west.
All right, and then let's go ahead and I'm going to spin the sun around to the other side where it's going to be setting. Let's get that over. All right, we can see that it's going to be setting here soon. Let's get back in close, take a look at this. Getting close enough where we can see our shadow. Alright, and now I'm going to hit play. Can we all see? Well, I think the sun has gone away from us too far. Let's back it up a little bit. So there was our shadow. Show everybody our compass face. We've got all of our headings. So the sun's clearly setting north of west here. If the sun is circling, it's always going to rise northeast and it's always going to set northwest.
Always. That's absolute with this map and model. The sun was circling around Polaris the way that the flat earth freemasonic pressurized pizza domers say. Every single day you would have the sun rise from north and set set north of west. So rise north of east and set north of west. But that only happens half of the year. The other half of the year it rises south of east and sets south of west, doing a circle completely off this map.
So let's go ahead and back out here now, and let's let our sun run around, and let's watch the way the shadows cast off of these poles that we have set around our equator, and you're going to start seeing some really big problems. Watch this. So there goes our shadow that direction.
No one has ever recorded a shadow like that either.
On the equinox? Get out of town. So watch the way the shadow's going to swing out and around here. Here comes the shadow that's being cast by our pole here in Ecuador. So imagine a radio tower, a telephone pole, a stop sign, a fence post, anything standing perpendicular to the ground So if you have a sun that's circling, it would be drawing these types of shadows everywhere. Everywhere. I've got a whole bunch more of these 3,000 mile high rods that I can turn on just at different city locations. We can run that later. So you can get to see a whole bunch of these shadows all taking place, farther north, farther south. These are just all sitting exactly on the equator right now. All right, so once the shadow gets over this, you'll see it is no shadow. It's straight down. There it goes. Let's see, I was going to try to stop it there. So here comes your shadow. We are directly over that thing right now. And there goes our shadow, spinning off, circling out and away. Remember, the equinox is the day that there are no shadows on equatorial sundials, and they do run straight line paths as well. So this is just showing everybody how a sun circling overhead, we would see with the shadows that the sun is circling overhead. That is not what we see.
Everybody on Earth, there wouldn't be a debate. There would be no debate going on. It would be obvious that we lived on an AE.
Super obvious.
Super obvious. It would be no other way. All the stars on the outside of the AE map would be racing around the horizon, parallel to it, right? We would have the stars above our heads, not off in the distance on a wall in front of us, parallel to our Earth. See, the Earth plane is one surface, and then another axis is the star plane, right? And it tilts depending on your position on the map.
Yeah, I've got that one of those graphics shows the ecliptic wobble in a really neat way. But I want everybody to take a look at our compass again and watch what the gnomons doing as far as showing the direction of the sun here. And go check for yourself. This is not what happens on an equinox whatsoever. All right, because it's circled all the way around out here, and then the shadow's going to continue to circle this way. Just wanted to show everybody that, and then we're going to put equatorial sundial down here now instead of a compass. Let's find that.
And we could do it. We got one more song break. I know that.
Yeah. Just looking for that. Compass, equatorial sundial. There it is. We'll turn off our compass. Now what we want to do is remember we had a person in our video. Everything that we've been modeling has been for 30 degrees north, so that is New Orleans. New Orleans is at 90 degrees west longitude. So we got this perfect spot. We know that on the equinox the sun has to be at the prime meridian.
So this is a no shadow day. No shadow.
No shadow.
In reality, virtual, or however you want to quote unquote reality.
So here we are. Let's go ahead and
No shadow.
let's go ahead and start. The sun is now running.
Roll.
Here comes the light. Watch the light come across the face of this sundial. And there's a shadow. There is definitely a shadow.
I see it.
I'm going to pause.
You can see the shadow.
I'm going to pause it. It only makes sense. I mean, you really don't need to have the modeling to understand that if the sun's doing circles, that you are going to have shadow on both the north and south face.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day. I mean, no.
Alright, so this takes a little while. I'm going to speed it up. Let's try to get through here. So now, when
It's midpoint, going behind the sundial now.
well, notice how the shadow is starting to sketch out right now, because it's going to get to the point where this is the equinox and this is set to 30 degrees. So at this very moment here, we are at no shadow. If I go to the other side of this, I need to find a point to rotate off of. You see that? See how there's no shadow right there, and the shadow is almost completely gone. And that is, let's go ahead and back out. We'll show everybody what's happening here. It's because the sun is lined up with this right now. All right, so there's no shadow. That's fine. But what happens as the sun comes around here? Now all of a sudden, it's completely in shadow again on the north side of the face. So,
And then another shadow,
you know,
which has never been recorded. Any shadow ever done that before? Ever, never.
yeah, having a strong shadow in the morning, none during noon, and look at the strong shadow again. And here goes the sun across the face, and now the sun is too far away.
It's gone away, right, on this map.
Yeah. David Weiss says the fool sees the sun setting. So you can clearly see when the sun is at solar noon here, right? The north and south side has gone into shadow, but anytime before solar noon, the north side was illuminated and illuminated again. So now anybody that was, say, let's back this out a little bit. So the sun's going over the equator right here. It can go as far as the tropics, 23.5 degrees, and so any place from here on up, the sun would be going around the backside of this equatorial sundial every day. It'll be going from the north side around to the south side and back around to the north side every single day. That's not the way. It's not the way the solar or equatorial sundials work. We've showed that over and over again. It rotates around the observer. I'll show you this again, and then we'll take another break. So the sun is going around the observer like this. And then we've got those other graphics that we'll share as well. Is there anything you wanted to cover, brother, before we take another break?
No, you got it.
All right.
Wait for the empty pages to be written. stage blindfolds on and a punch in the mouth. Silence is blood in your
And we're back. And we've got more professors to share with y'all. You have to check this out.
Right.
We had that doctor with the sundial. Now we got some professor here. He's got 103,000 views on a video 10 years old called Introductory Astronomy, Path of the Sun in the Daytime Sky.
Nice. Very simple.
It is very simple. I mean, he says everything very, very simply. He's got a simple static image, but look at what he's showing everybody. All right. If you recognize this, this is showing the same circular path around the observer on a flat plane. It's actually in a circular shape. So the distance to the horizon is equidistant from us. So there is a radius. And that means that we have a circular horizon on a flat plane. Right? We don't see in a square shape. We don't see these corners. It's an equidistant around the observer. So it's showing that the biggest path, this is at the summer solstice, and it's when the sun is closest to being overhead for us up north. And it's got the longest path. So the sun, like we were saying, is always rotating at the exact same speed, 15 degrees per hour, and because there is more path above the horizon here, we have a longer day. That is the explanation for a longer day. The sun does not speed up like it would have to in the Freemason fake flat earth, right? Because if it's going around the Tropic of Capricorn, is that the south one?
Yeah.
I think so. It would be going around a larger path, and it would therefore have to be traveling faster. We would see,
To keep a 24-hour day.
yeah, we would be able to measure the sun traveling faster. But nope, always the same. So we don't really need to watch this guy's videos. I'm going to show, just listen to him a little bit.
Always be somewhere between the summer solstice path and the winter solstice path. The paths for the sun on either of the equinoxes, the fall equinox or the spring equinox, that's when the sun will rise directly east, but still go up and to the right, get high in the southern sky, and then set directly in the west. On those days, the sun will spend exactly 12 hours above the horizon. On no day of the year, for a person standing in the northern hemisphere, for a person standing in the continental U.S., will the sun ever get directly overhead. What about for other places on the Earth?
Yeah.
Let me show you a simulation. This comes from the University of Nebraska simulations.
So, like I said, I got it from this guy's video. We've got the simulation, and we got these fun things that we can do. We can turn on the poles. Look at that. So now we can turn this around, and there is our North Pole. All right, for a person at 41 degrees north. So the closer you go to the equator, the flatter this gets, until you go south of the equator, and the South Pole rises.
Yeah.
All right.
And this is all done over a flat plane, stationary ground.
Stationary ground with a circle of
That's
sight.
your vanishing point, your horizon. And the sun, moon, stars, they're all equidistantly locked to you as well.
The higher you go, the larger the path around you will be.
So here's our celestial equator. And this is exactly the reason why when we set up an equatorial sundial, that on the equinox, the sun can rotate around the equatorial sundial with no shadows.
On either side. Because
Right.
the angle of the board that the gnomon is through is on the same angle as the plane of the path of the sun.
No, here's the equinox path. Notice? It's the exact same. See? On,
At
off.
the equator, that will be 90 degrees above head.
Oh.
It's aligned with the earthly equator. In
And
Ecuador.
here's our solstices path. So here's all three. All right, and so we could see that guy's graphic. That, yeah, here's our summer, our equator, and our winter solstice. This is for a place in the north. So if you're at the equator,
This is the problem here for the flat Earth.
you're at the equator,
AE map, I should say, not flat Earth, but the AE map.
straight paths.
Straight up, you can see. So half of the year, the sun will still make a shadow on the sundial, small circle, and the other half of the year, it'll be on the south side. But on this particular place, you use a different type of a sundial.
Hmm.
It's just pointed straight up, and then you measure the length of the shadow going
Yeah.
from east to west.
And then here's, as you're going farther and farther south, all right, those people down in Australia, when they look south, they have their sky rotating around this point, looking south.
Looking south, clockwise. And that, again, completely goes against everything that the AE map model would demand, right?
Absolutely. We've got this graphic here. This one's super neat.
Lemma.
There it is.
Right? There's how you get they use their parrot-shaped Earth analogy, because they see the analemma is a little bit bulgier on the south side. And when I say south, I just mean if we're looking at north, east, south, and west as four directions. I'm not talking about down or up, because that's a totally different axis. Right now, when we show anything with north, east, south, and west, we're only talking about cardinal directions. And when you see the southern part of the analemma is wider and more bulgier, because what better represents is what our map and model demands it to be. What is the name of the shape again, Jason? It is a not an ellipse, but a
Parabola? Parabola?
It's not a parabola. No,
Oh.
the map that we use, the Hotine is it's like a little skewed. It'll come to me.
Okay. So this slider right here changes the date. And the clock is stopped right now. We can start the clock, but I want to show you the analemma. So for the analemma, what you need is a snapshot of the sun at the same time of day for all these days. So as we move this slider through the days, that's how the analemma is produced, right there, by taking a snapshot at the same day. Now look at this. It's a pretty nice tool. Look at how it's showing the shadows being cast off of our stickman figure.
So the shape is oblate.
Okay.
Sorry, oblate.
Yeah, so we've got two lines here. We've got the yellow one, and we've got they're calling this the ecliptic, and they're calling this one the sun's declination. So you'll notice that the sun is always on the yellow, but it's being moved back and forth with the wobble of this white one. So I do believe that this is where all of our constellations are.
The ecliptic plane.
Yeah, so watch how this moves.
That's the line that has gone out and stretches throughout the whole entire Earth, spoken of in the scriptures, is your ecliptic plane.
So let me go ahead and start playing this thing. And now you can see,
And where's the sun going, Jason? Where's it doing now? It's rising above the ground, and then what happens when it gets to this side?
sets down into the ground at your horizon.
Oh, that's interesting.
Rises out of the ground at the horizon. So it's into the ground.
It's into the ground.
Yes, everywhere you are on the plane. And this can all be mapped out. The timing of it is based on your longitude And this declination here, as we were looking in our other graphic over here, declination is set by your latitude. All right, your latitude sets what angle this is all taking place at. But this is between the yellow and the white here. You're getting the sun's path, and you're seeing the path of the ecliptic. So the constellations are actually following this white ring here as the sun's moving through that. So we've got like a double ring wobble that determines the position.
A wheel.
A wheel within a wheel. I like that.
That's what it is.
I like that. So this is, I mean, these are great tools, everybody. This is perfect. It shows exactly how the sun works.
Over a flat plane.
Over a flat plane.
Direction.
Yeah. No curvature on this green thing here.
No, and it has to be fixed and immovable, and it has the objects in the sky, the celestial lights moving.
That's it. So then the sun is traveling just a fraction slower than the fixed stars. So it actually falls back through the constellations on this white ring. Right? And then the moon's going slightly slower than the sun. So the moon falls back even faster. That's how the sky works, everybody. This is the path of the luminaries.
Simple, right? There's your analemma. You see it all right there. The analemma shows you the gates, right, from the top to the bottom. That's the distance that the sun travels through. And the gates are just the distances that are from north to south on the east and west sides of this circle of sight. So in the book of Enoch, this is what he was shown. He was shown a program like this, and it showed the sun rising, and it had it broken up into, well, go to the Andromarsh site. Well, if we've got time, we might as well. We're getting down there for tonight. But if we throw the Andromarsh site on, we'll show you guys the 6 gates of Enoch. This is how we're able to show you exactly the way that Enoch was shown what we're showing, because it lines up, matches perfectly with what Enoch said. So you can go and click on it, zoom in, and Jason will show you you can still see the analemma that we were just looking at in the other program, the oblate larger on the bottom 8 in the sky. It's just a snapshot of the sun once a day for a whole year, right? And there it is. And if you zoom in on the sides of the circle of sight, so Enoch was told there were 6 gates in the east and 6 gates in the west, right? That the sun riseth and setteth in and out of, always. And all the other stars and everything else, too. So if you zoom in a bit,
I'm just going to get it to an equinox here.
That's due east, due west. Again, you can take a compass on the 2 times of the year when this happens. You can measure the sun's rise and set due east and due west like that. But you can count. There's 6 gates here. This program literally has it broken up into, and so the outside ones, the first gate and the 6th gate, are half gate sizes, because the sun travels halfway out and then turns about on its course and travels backwards towards the center again, giving you still the 29 or 30 days every month, correct?
Yeah, so this gate right here on the equinox, this is the 4th gate. And then this dotted line right here is 30 days later. It's the 5th gate. This dotted line is 30 days later. It's the 6th gate, but it's only 15 days long. So the sun travels out 15 days and then turns back 15 days. So then it's back at gate 6, then at gate 5, then at gate 4, 30 days, gate 3, 30 days, gate 2, and then you go out, half, and back.
And then 15, roughly 14 or 15 days back. And then that cycle just repeats. And the moon does it once a month, completely back and forth from the outside to the top.
And a little bit.
The exact gates.
And a little bit farther. So notice that this is showing to the 100th of a degree per second.
And the shadows all align. And this is also a modeling program on a flat plane.
Flat plane. Obviously flat plane. You can see it's a flat plane, everybody. It's a flat plane.
And what happens to the sun when it gets to the horizon?
Let's turn on the sun's path. We'll play this thing. And there we go. Look at that arm.
The sun went below the earth, like it says in Enoch, and hastens back to the north side, and then rises again.
Boom.
That's the exact scripture mentioned in the book of Enoch, and you can line it up with each day and move it in and out. The moon would be good if we could get Andrew Marsh to do this and put the moon in it, but he hasn't done that yet. Then we'd be able to show everybody her peculiar paths.
Yeah, so now I've got the angles being shown as it comes around. Every second you can stop it. 100th of a degree, you got the measurement.
It's very similar to your 3D modeling too.
Yeah, this is pretty robust though. You can spin it around. It doesn't have to think real hard.
That's a good program. Andrew Marsh did a good job.
Yeah,
It matches Enoch perfectly.
perfectly. So sun only travels in this band. The moon's band like this is very similar. It's just 5.1 degrees wider each direction. And that's it. And the moon travels a little bit slower.
Well, actually, it goes back and forth through all of the gates once a month, whereas it takes the sun an entire year.
Yeah, the moon's path is like this every month, where it does this full wobble, where it's coming up from north to south, back to north in a month.
It has a peculiar course,
Mm-hmm.
and it's on a 18-year cycle, I believe. Don't quote me on it. We're just learning like every
18.6, I think. It's close to 19.
19.888.
They rounded off to 19. They call it a 19-year metonic cycle.
Okay. But this is what's up. I mean, this is what's up. This is what you can go ahead and verify and repeat and share and test and do yourself, and get a camera, start filming the clouds behind the sun and other types of amazing simulation realizations.
This is your circling sun, everybody. This is how it
Its actual
circles.
path. And you know the yin-yang, right, depiction? So the yin-yang is like this. If it's the circle that we're looking at there, you just turn the yin-yang upwards in alignment with the path of the sun there.
Mm-hmm.
You see the darkness above the horizon, that's the night, and when the light is up, it's the day. And that's what the yin-yang was. Not a circle above our heads. It was a parallel. It was what would you say, plumb to the level of the earth. The sky is plumb to the level of the earth, and then you can measure its angle depending on where you are on the map. So the way that the sky was designed was so that we could navigate the earth and know days, times, and seasons.
Yeah, so let's go back to motion here a little bit. And we'll go to our AE debunk again. We'll do a little bit more with this. I want to show everybody. We're going to put a bunch of these poles up. Let the sun spin then. And just think to yourself, everyone, can a sun circling 3,000 miles overhead, never setting, can it cast the correct shadows that we actually measure? So, throw those. Here we got Washington, D.C. Or no. Here's London, Jerusalem, Tokyo. So now we've got a bunch of these.
Shadow killers. Model killers. Shadow model killers. These are model killers.
Let's go ahead and
Wait, don't show them the model. It's not kosher. Don't do it. You're going to ruin the shekels for Team David Weiss. I can just hear his smoke coming out of his head right now.
Alright, so I've got the sun rotating now. And so now you're going to be able to see what the shadows would be doing at a whole bunch of different locations. And understand that that is not what's happening on the equinox. Everybody, this is the day that the sun is directly above the equator. So we know it cannot be doing circles flat, horizontal to the ground.
No.
It's that simple, everybody. Try to model it yourself. See whether or not you can.
Did, right? Remember Tiger Dan?
I do remember Tiger Dan.
Well, at first he did the interview with Pat Steer and David Weiss, And he said if he ever went back from the ball Earth, just know that he was captured by the, Big Brother. And he did that podcast, and then he came back. He tried to model it. And he failed because you can't model it because it's not real. It's a fantasy reality that they concocted.
Yeah, he was actually at that meetup where I went and met.
With Tiger Dan?
Well, he didn't come in. So at the first one, he
Right, he wasn't there. Was the first one or the second one?
the first one. Yeah,
He just drove up and then drove out?
yeah. So Pat got up from the table, went outside, talked to him. He didn't come in. So I don't know if it had to do with me being there or not. But
Maybe, but I don't know. He was pretty, didn't seem like he was afraid of nothing. Well, what I noticed about Tiger Dan is that he started promoting Ken Hovind, who's an absolute freemasonic nightmare shill who promotes the dinosaurs are real and there's a gap theory in the Bible. Years. So the evolution, right? He was the guy that debunked evolution, but now he runs a dinosaur park.
yeah. So here's our sundial here. The sun's getting close to the international dateline here where it's going to be setting. Watch what our shadows are doing. You can see that the sun, in order for it to cover
Half here.
half the earth, right, the light has to be going over the north by a lot.
And that doesn't happen. There's not 24-hour days ever recorded. There's always a sunset in all the video we've seen, right? This would be, half of the year, right?
And watch this. So we'll set this up where we've been doing this all on equinox. So now I'm going to move the sun closer like we're going to our summer solstice. Let me get that sun group. Alright, we've got... I'll just have to move the whole group, but... See if I get the right one. There we go. So I'm moving the sun towards...
That shadow's crazy.
I'm moving the sun so that it's gonna now be over the Tropic of Cancer. Now what do we have with the shadow problem or light problem? It's going so far over the North Pole that we've got down into China, all this kind of stuff still being lit. San Diego, this area being lit. See, that's the problem when you bring the sun closer. We take it back to where it was. It's like this, and then if you take it out further, like you're going to the Tropic of Capricorn, then you have a lighting situation like this. See, none of this works. None of this matches reality whatsoever.
You got the ice wall in the picture. The stylish ice wall that doesn't exist, right? They show you a couple of ice shelves. There's your ice wall. Flat earthers, take it and go. You can't go there because of the Chilean sea bass.
They are good though.
To prove that there's the ice wall, now they get the Chilean sea bass protection.
Yeah, they're worth protecting, in my opinion.
They are really good. Some good fish, I gotta say.
Here's another
example, Jason, just to cut you off real quick. I'm sorry, you've done a great job tonight. But so if you're in Australia and you want to see the stars right on the other side of the dome, did you know you have to see all the way through the earth, through the daylight side, and then see the dome on the other side of the earth? See the stars on this map too?
Yeah, watch this. We'll set up.
People don't understand that.
We'll set up from Australia.
So you got to look across the map to see at nighttime people that are in Australia down under, right? Which no one's ever seen anything upside down. Looking across the plane of the earth, you'd have to see through the daylight side to get to the stars on the horizon, right? There, you'd be looking through the sun in the AE map model. How is that possible?
It's set up good. We're gonna set ourselves down in Sydney here. All right, so now we're going to get ourselves looking north. So the sun's going like this, and to see stars north, all right, we have to be looking through the sun to see the stars on the other side of the dome. So everybody get that? That's what Ronnie was just talking about.
Very simple. It's very simple. It's just a proof that there's no dome. And the stars literally circle around you, rise from the horizon and set back into the ground. Through windows, it says in the Book of Enoch. They accompany the sun and the moon and all the other luminaries. So yeah, I mean, this is great. People, I hope you guys join in and sharing the truth. I hope you're learning. We don't, this is just what we like to do for fun. It's our entertainment.
All right, so this is nighttime, right? And we're looking north.
The dome is behind the sun, and you got to see the stars through the dome, through the sun.
Through the sun. It's just so ridiculous.
Yeah, the whole map and model is. It's
so ridiculous.
But hey, we'll come on debunk it. Don't worry. That's what we want to do.
Yeah, what else are we going to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll just let this play a little bit more, and then that'll probably be it for the night, huh?
Yeah, it was great. We'll be back on Sunday.
Yeah. More graphics. We've got End Times Eschatology with dates that we've got put on it.
Some dates, huh? You're a date setter? Oy vey. Are you trying to talk about rapture now?
No rapture, but the thing is that a great tribulation is coming.
That's
right, and it is most likely going to be fulfilled through the Hebrew calendar. So we are looking for events like trumpets, right? They say with a loud trump, and the 10 days of awe. We've got the Day of Atonement. Then we've got tabernacles. And then we're going to be showing how a 1260-day count, how that lands on Passover in 2027. And then we're going to be showing how another 1260-day count will take us to the Day of Atonement in 2030. And also how 1,335 days will take us to the temple dedication of Hanukkah. Right, so that's December 21st, the winter solstice of 2030.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely. All right, well, there you go, everyone. Shadows. Equatorial sundials. These things all prove that the sun is not circling overhead.
3,000 miles up.
Nope. Not even 300 miles up.
Debunked again. We've been doing this for like 7 years, 6 years.
7 years, I think. All right. Well, I think that might be it, brother.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the presentation. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The sneak peek of your video was cool. That was a first time, or maybe we've done it before, but I don't think so. And I just hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Don't leave. We still got another song left to go. And yeah, thank you very much, Jason.
Yeah, thank you. Where's the only place people are going to hear this information, brother?
Only Beyond Flat Earth.